So today's session incorporates something that's called in Sanskrit the Vayus, and that's a word for wind. It translates from the Sanskrit into wind. And the root word of it, the Va, has to do with circulation of energy. So when I present this, it's going to be relating to the feeling of the breath in different parts of the body. And it's really as simple as that. It's nothing mystical, but just that sense of each asana, each pose will incorporate the breath in a slightly different way. And we might as well begin, I think. In the way of props, it's good if you have an empty wall space. And also, before we start, I'm wearing a piece of jewelry today, which is a mother of pearl figure called a Wanjana. And a Wanjana is a spirit entity that's in the Kimberley area, and especially the Kimberley coast. And a friend of mine who gave me this passed away this last week. So I just thought I would display it for the week. All right, and then have a seat on something comfortable, a cushion or a blanket. And we'll begin with the first of these Vayus, which is called Prana Vayu. Prana, you've heard that word before, is in pranayama, the yoga breathing. So start by just bringing your hands over your top chest, over your heart center, really. And take a couple of breaths there. And I think the emphasis is even greater when you feel it through your hands. Your hands communicate something, and the heart is elevated. So let's begin with a really simple movement of opening out. Inhale and open wide. And exhale, bring the hands back to where you started. When you open the arms out, you could tilt your chin and look up a little bit and feel the spine lengthen in that movement. And then when you bring your hands back to the heart center, don't drop the chest. Inhaling, the elbows are relaxed, so it's a really expansive and relaxed, graceful gesture. And the next time that you do this really simple movement, see if you can raise the arms up into kind of a V shape, an open V shape, wide V, and then exhale and bring the hands back. When you inhale, it's easy to lift and open the heart center, so we don't want it to close again when you exhale and feel it still elevated. And then let's just do one more there. And exhale, bringing the hands back to the breastplate. And then just dip your chin a little bit and feel that sense of lifting and opening is still there as we move on. So come on to your mat and take up a lying down position on your mat, lying on your back. And settle in maybe by waggling your hips a little bit. Feel the sacrum nestling into the ground and the upper back too. And then we'll work with the lower part of the body here. And the breath is called Apana Vayu. And it's as though you're drawing the breath down into the lowest part of your torso. So let's do that in this manner. Lift one knee towards you, other knee towards you, and hold at the front of your knees. On an exhalation, bring the lower abdomen back towards the floor and the knees towards the chest. And on the inhalation, draw the knees away from you. See if you can feel the breath flow in the mane, in the lower part of your torso, from your navel down towards the pubic bone. And exhaling, We can use Ujjayi breathing here that creates even more of a breath emphasis. Knees come in and knees move out, and the arms are relatively passive and relaxed. We want to generate energy and not deplete ourselves. Let's do a few more and then see if you can get the sensation of moving the sitting bones towards the floor, especially when you bring the knees in close. And that helps preserve your natural lumbar curve. Right? And one more just like that. Keeping the thighs close to your chest, slip your hands around the backs of the legs, the backs of the knees, and extend the legs up towards the ceiling. Then merely drop the heels towards your buttocks. Exhale, inhale, and giving the legs a really good stretch. Keep the emphasis on that apanasana feeling in the lower abdomen. And this is good for the organs of elimination that are in that area of the lower torso. All right, one more time with the legs extended up. And keep them in a straightish position. Flex your feet so your feet are parallel with the ceiling. And imagine that you've got, like a chubby puppy that's sitting on your feet, and you're pushing up against the resistance of that weight, just to give your backs of your legs that extra boost. All right, and then bending your knees down and feet to the floor, and drop your arms out to the side. All right, let's work with the lower abdomen one more time in a twisting movement, rotating. Bring your knees towards you. Lift your feet completely off the floor. And then swing your knees slightly to the right side, and your feet will go to the left. What you did basically is you shortened the left side of your body. So look to the left, and then go the other way. Your heels are near to your buttocks, they're just dangling, and turn your knees to the left side and your feet go to the right, look to the right. And let's go back and forth between those two movements where you're shortening the lateral body on one side and lengthening on the opposite side. And you'll, if it's working for you the same way it is for me, you'll get a squeezy feeling in the abdomen, in the torso. It's really important to work with the breath there so that you have time to get a complete breath in between the movements to the side. All right, and then finally, let's finish. So you're back in the center, 2 feet on the floor, and relaxed position on your mat. For the next part, we'll do some small bridges, and I'm going to use a block for this. Feet on the floor and hip width distance. I'm going to put a block between the inside of my thighs. This works really well for me to keep my knees tracking straight and to kind of stimulate my outer hip muscles. So from there, very simple movement, and now working more with the upper part of your chest and the breath directed to the upper part of the chest. On an inhalation, lift your buttocks off the floor, opening up right to the top chest, and on an exhale, lowering back down. I love that we have time and space to do this slowly. So when you go slowly, then there are so many more subtle adjustments that you can make. One of them that's not so subtle is when your hips are elevated, press your feet, feel your footprints, come on up, turn your arms out, all the way out, right to the top of your arm. And draw your shoulder blades in closer. And then lowering the spine once more. The next time that you come up fully, and there is that rotation of your arms outwards, also duck your chin a little bit towards the jugular notch and feel the breath in the throat and relax the lining of your throat. And maybe draw the breath up towards the head as well. And then exhale and lower back down. Feel that you're able to come down very slowly and feel the vertebrae one at a time coming down. Let's change the movement of the arms. So on the next lift through the pelvis, feel that really strongly and grounding through your feet. Inhale and bring your arms up overhead and towards the floor. And as much as you can, getting an arm stretch. Your hips are elevated and your arms drawing away from your legs. Chin towards the jugular notch, length through the back of your neck. Keep your arms where they are, overhead, and then very slowly lower the spine back to the floor. I can feel a little bit more lengthening through my spinal column when I do this with overhead arms. Come right up again, pressing against the block, pressing on the inside of your feet, lifting up and peeling up. Maybe you're coming up a little bit higher. That goal isn't necessary, but just so that you have the feeling sense of coming up and down. This time when you come down, bring your arms back to your side and your back to base. Pause. Let's do one more like that. Inhaling, coming up. And feel the breath rising all the way up to the top chest, to the throat, towards maybe even the crown of the head. Keep your arms there, and then peeling the spine back towards the floor, all the way down. One more round of the hip lift. And then releasing the arms back to the side. Relax the front of the neck, the lining of the throat, the jaw, the teeth, the lot, and especially your shoulders. All right, let's continue without the block now to do the opposite of what you've done. You've done in the bridge lifts, extension through your spine. Now you're going to do flexion through some, I don't know what to call them, sit-up-ish kind of movements. I'm going to lift my knees towards my chest, drop my heels towards my buttocks, interlock the hands behind the head, and elbows out wide to the side. Keep your feet, your knees together, and look up towards the ceiling. Keep your neck nice and long, and then lift up just a little bit. Head and back chest come up, and exhale back down. When you come up on an exhalation, feel that work through apana, Vayu again, the very bottom of your torso, and then lowering down. And let's do that for the third time. And lowering down. And we're going to do two more of these. So make it a very small movement. And even if that's not a safe movement for you to do a sit-up movement, then you can just keep the muscles working in the lower abdomen. However, we can make this a little more challenging by bringing the knees directly over the hip sockets. Lift your heels slightly, and you're in tabletop position. And then two more, lifting up a little or more as your body will allow you, and releasing down and coming up and holding it for an extra breath. Exhale breath is strong through the lower part of your torso, and then releasing, and feet come to the floor and arms back by the side of your body. Just let it all go. Take a couple of deeper breaths, just like a internal sigh. All right, beautifully done. So we've counterposed a back bend with a kind of crunch position, and then we're going to move on to a rotation again. So working with the central core of the body, the torso, we're going to take the arms out wide to the side, step your feet out wide too, and merely drop your knees to the right side, look to the left. Affectionately called windscreen wiper pose. Knees go left, knees go right. And see if you can bring the attention on the breathing to the way that the torso can be viewed as a cylinder, and feel the breath in the whole inside of that cylinder. As you take the legs one way, the breath is still circumferential. Next time you inhale with that kind of rounded breathing, bring your knees up, pause there. And this time when you drop your knees to the right side, extend your left arm overhead along the floor, alongside the left side of your head. A nice long stretch through the left side of your body. Hold it there and feel that side, that lateral side open up. Chin towards your left collarbone. Let's go other side. Fold your left arm in, extend your right arm overhead, and then a long, languorous stretch on the left side of your body, lateral body. That's a lot of L's. And then coming back to center. Let's go one more time each side in your own time so that you can squeeze the most out of this beautiful pose. If you like, when your knees are to the right, you can just roll a little bit more up onto your right shoulder. Last side, knees to the left, right arm overhead, looking to the right, turning a little bit more through the core of your body, and then coming back to center. And that emphasizes samana, vayu. Bring your feet back in, hip width apart. Fold your hands onto your diaphragm ribs. And then just feel your breath there with the movement of the diaphragm. Draw your shoulders down, relax your shoulders. And as long as we're here, let's just do one more emphasis on that samana vayu. Extend out your left leg, bend your right knee into your chest, and you're going to bring your right knee across your body, cross your left leg to the left side. Look to the right. Come back to center. Keep that work on just your right knee going to the left side. Give it another go. And then back to center, all with your breath emphasis. And then for the last two of these rotations, you could extend your right leg up towards the ceiling, track your right leg across on the diagonal to the left side, looking to the right. Go as far as you want, as your body will allow in that movement. Take a couple of breaths here. Maybe one more time, right leg to the right. Back to center. Read your body to see whether these movements are appropriate for you at this stage. And then bring that right leg out along the floor. Bend your left leg in. Extend the left leg up towards the ceiling. Oh, let's start with bent leg. So easing into this like a user-friendly approach. And left leg across to the right. Back to center. And then feel, even as you do your rotation, that you can still bring the breath into the back body. That's what we mean by a circumferential way of breathing. The breath through the whole interior of the torso. All right, last one, or last ones, if you like, with the legs straight, across to the right side. And we're always noticing and curious about how our bodies are working. Is this a easier movement on the direction you're going, or was the first one? And then when you come back to center, lower that leg, both legs on the floor, bring your arms by the side of your body. Maybe just check and see whether you feel like you're still lying in a straight line, or have those rotations put you into a kind of curve to one side or the other. While your legs are there, be on the center of your heels with your legs slightly apart, and then alternately stretch your toes away from you, back towards your knees. Notice what happens with your spine in the really simple movement, which is apparently just your feet, but how your feet affect all of your body. And let's just exaggerate this movement a little bit and take the arms overhead alongside your ears. And so as your toes point away from you, lengthen your arms in the opposite direction. And then as the toes come back towards you, bring your arms back by your side. Feel the alternating lengthening and shortening through the back body. Good. And then we're going to bend the legs and come up and all the way to standing. See if you can make a really graceful transition in coming up. I like to come up through a lunge, and then we'll do some of our chair poses, Utkatasana. Take a standing position where you're facing the short end of your mat. Stand with your feet slightly apart and your arms loose by the side of your body. Come to think of your position like the yoga pose Tadasana, mountain pose, where you're balanced evenly on your 2 feet and you're in a comfortable, and emphasize comfortable, upright position. And then from here, simply moving on to chair pose. Bend your knees a little bit, bring your arms up and forward and alongside your ears. Let's take a couple of breaths there. So feel the groundedness through the soles of your feet, but then also that outward pouring of energy through the tips of your fingers. So the limbs are really important in creating a beautiful pose here. And the limbs in the Vayus, Vyana Vayu. And then lowering your arms back down to your side. Let's go again with an emphasis as you sit back into your imaginary chair of moving your knees back. So if you duck your head and you look at your feet, your knees are either over your toes or over the center of your top foot or over your ankles. See if you can move your knees back as far as you can over your ankles. Keep the outward pouring of energy through the tips of your fingers and then down into your feet, and inhale and come back up to standing. One more of those. Here we go. Feel the strengthening work through the core of your body, and then knees move back. And in the last go here, the last opportunity, you might want to drop down a little bit lower. And at this point, I've transferred most of my weight onto my heel bones. Feel the strength of your heels, the lightness through the upper body as you extend your arms. And exhale, and arms down to your side. Beautiful. Let's move on from there. And we're working with the breath primarily in this session to some salutes. So take a position near to the front of your mat. These are the easiest salutes that I do, and I like them because it's really easy to create a breath emphasis. So we go like this. Bring your hands into prayer position in front of your chest. And then feel the breath there again, Prana Vayu. And we're going to open that breath out to the side in a big gesture. Inhale, bring your arms up and overhead. Exhale, come into forward fold, but just briefly. Hold your shins. Inhale, lift your chest and look out. Exhale, drop down. Step back, downward facing dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And as you take down dog, bend your knees a little bit and take several breaths there. Feel how much you can extend out into your hands, your fingers, and at the same time lift your buttock bones up towards the ceiling. All right, and then let's walk in and keep moving. Hold your shins again, just below your knees. Inhale, telescope your chest forward. Exhale, drop into your forward bend gently. Inhale, a big sweep of the arms out to the side and up and overhead. Arms out to the side to return to base and back to prayer pose. That was a very long sequence. We'll go a little bit more quickly this time. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, arms out to the side as you dive forward. Inhale and exhale. Downward facing dog pose. Inhale, walk forward. Hold your shins, keep inhaling, fill the top lungs. Exhale, drop down. Feel the abdominal muscles when you come into forward fold. Inhale, arms out to the side, and then back to prayer, back home to base. We'll go 2 more of these, all with the breath. Big sweep of your arms. Generous arms out to the side and down. Hold your shins, lengthen, fold up, step back, downward facing dog pose. We're not holding, we're going to keep moving. Inhale, come forward. Concave back, Uttanasana. Fold up, Uttanasana. Inhale, arms come up. And back to prayer. Here we go again. Feel the breath flowing. And stepping back, downward facing dog pose. Not holding, keep moving. In breath, top lungs, exhale, abdominal area. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, back to prayer. Hold it there. And perhaps close your eyes for a moment. And feel into center chest, basically into the heart center. Maybe increase that feeling by lifting your elbows a little bit. And mainly, feel the breath circulating. Beautiful. Release your arms to the side. And let's do a few of the standing poses, a kind of mashup with Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1, and Parsvattanasana, forward fold. So right foot's forward, left foot back. And continuing what we're doing, bring your hands into prayer position in front of your chest. Lift the top front corners of your chest. And on an inhalation, you're going to bring your arms into goalpost position as you bend your front leg. And then inhale, tilt your chin, look up. Exhale, back to prayer. Inhale, feel that as an expansive gesture. Exhale, drawing your energy back in. Going from one to the other. When you're back in prayer, your chin level with the ground. When you're in Warrior 1, then looking up. Let's go 2 more rounds. I've lost track. What I'm doing, I don't always count what I'm doing. All right, and then let's change feet. And left foot forward, right foot back. Good. Take a moment longer and adjust your hips so that they're square and level. And hands in prayer. And inhale and opening. Feel that gesture right out to your hands. Exhale, folding in. This is really more about the breath than even the form of the pose. More the feeling and the sensation of breathing. And I think this is the way that you create energy. All right, and last one. And then right foot forward, left foot back. And here's the other pose we're going to put together with warrior in a moment, Parsvattanasana. Rest your hands onto your hips. Easy to square your hips now. And we're going to keep the right leg straight or straightish. But take a moment and press into the outline of your right foot, the outline of your left foot. When I do that, then my back leg feels more supportive and the buttock switches on. Inhale and lift your chest. Exhale in forward fold. Feel the lower abdominal muscles, the diaphragm moving down towards the sides of the navel. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, forward and down. It's really a good pose because it's asymmetrical to have you work on your balance. And again, beautiful. Think about concentrating the energy in your torso and coming forward and down. And we've done well there. And then in the upright position, step left foot to right foot back. Good, set yourself up well. You could lean back a little bit into your right leg, and then you feel that whole leg as though it were an hourglass and now it's filled with sand right down to the sole of your foot. Square your hips, and here we go, inhaling and exhaling. And back up. If you find that the front foot shakes a little bit, wobbles, then press more on the inside of it without dropping the arch. It's a big breath in to the top chest and a big breath out down into the belly, in the lower belly. All right, let's just do one more because we can. And forward and down. And then when you come up this time and step right foot to left, pause for a moment. Arms just loose by your side. Creating Tadasana, shoulders relaxed. And now left foot back, right foot forward. Let's put those two together. See what we can do there. And hands into prayer position. Beautiful, elbows lifted. Inhale, opening the arms out into goalpost. Exhale, we're going to dive forward into Parsvattanasana, your version for right now. Inhale, come back up, bending that front leg. And exhale back to prayer. Let's just do 3 all together. Taking time to feel the breath. Feel it deep in your body. And that's 3. And left foot forward, right foot back. Good. And then we're getting a little, I think, more steady in our balance. And starting with the hands in front of the breastplate, inhale, look up. Exhale, bring yourself down and forward. Inhale, back to goalpost arms. Exhale, hands in front of your chest. Inhale. Find your own breath pattern that works for you. That's more important than following my cadence. And just one more in your own time. Good. And in Tadasana, and the feet just slightly apart, keep your hands in prayer. Close your eyes again and come very much into your own body, into your own energy. Notice where there's any residual tension. Relax the back of your knees. Soften your buttocks. You keep your elbows up, your chest up. And we've done well there. And then release your hands by your side. I thought in this sequence that it would be good to do a static pose, and I've chosen Vrishkasana tree pose. So I'm going to do this next to a wall, just in case I need a wall for support. And we're going to do the one-legged balancing in tree pose. So start out and pick a focal point in front of you, something that you can look at to steady your gaze and steady your pose. Keep your weight onto your right foot, so I'm facing right hip to the wall. Bring your weight to bear onto that right foot, lift your left heel, and then your left foot onto your right thigh. Good. Stay there until you feel steady enough in your balance, and if that comes to you, then bring your hands into prayer position once more in front of your chest. Feel that gesture allows you to lift and open your chest. And then we could add another further movement. If you're steady enough, bring your arms overhead. And then see how you go in a graceful lowering of your arms at the same time as you lower your legs. Sometimes grace isn't completely available. And then let's switch second side. Because I've got the wall next to you, I've got my left hip facing the wall. And I'm going to bring my weight onto balance onto my left foot. Find my focal point. The challenge is to keep my balance while I'm talking. Or even when I'm quiet. Right. And then bringing your hands into prayer pose. If your balance is steady, you might just end up holding your foot there, in which case it's a really good exercise to press your thigh back against your foot. Feel your hip muscles working much more for you to keep your balance. And if possible, extend up the arms. If that has a bad effect on your balance, then keep your hands in front of your chest. And then lowering your arms and your leg. And let's go one more time. We might consider that a dress rehearsal if it didn't go exactly well enough. So your foot presses against your thigh presses back against your foot. The arms are extension of your chest, and feel that in terms of the Vayus, Vyana Vayu, and extending right up through the arms. And then last side. If your pose is working the same way as mine is for me, one side is very shaky at the moment, and I'm reliant on the wall, and then the other side seems relatively easy balance. That's life. So if you can get that hip movement, so the foot pressing to the thigh pressing to the foot, and then lowering down and releasing. All right, take a block, and we're going to do one more of the static poses, or a holding in a pose. And this is Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. So I'm going to use the wall behind me, and you might be able to do this free balancing, and that's all well and good if you can do that. But we're going to work through Trikonasana, triangle pose, to get there. So I've got a block, and that is really handy, and most of you have used that before. And the block I've placed in front of my right foot, little toe side of my right foot, just to add a reach when I bend my front leg. So from the upright position, left foot turned in a little bit, right foot turned out 90 degrees. Then extend your arms out sideways from your shoulders, and feel that as you take some deeper breaths from the center of your chest to the tips of your fingers. And then let's do a sideways stretch and come down. Right hand to the right shin bone, left arm up towards the ceiling. Stay there for a moment longer. Release your shoulders back from your neck. And then the main game here is the half moon pose. So look at your block where you've placed it. Slide, bring your left hand back onto your left hip. Slide your left foot in closer to your right foot, and then place your right hand onto the block. At this point, I've got 3 points of contact with the floor, and I feel very secure. And now I'm going to lift my left foot, left leg behind me, and balance just on my right foot and left hand. And then from there, if it's working for you at this point and you've got a sense of balance, then extend up your left arm. If you're still feeling shaky, then wait. Just keep your hand onto your hip. Find your footing through your standing leg and your right foot. And then we're going to move on, which is back to triangle pose, Trikonasana. Bend your front leg. Find the floor with your left foot. Right hand, right leg, left arm up towards the ceiling. And you've moved through a really beautiful choreographed sequence. And inhale and come up. And then second side. All right, and then everything in reverse. Left foot turns out, right foot turns in a little bit. Hands on your hips, steady balance, wait and feel like you're grounded through your feet. That's so important. And then extending the arms out sideways, simple Trikonasana. Hopefully it's simple for you. And extending left arm out, left hand, left leg, right arm up towards the ceiling. Good. Pause there. Release the shoulders back away from the head. And then looking for where you're going, look at the block. Right hand, right hip, bend your left leg, bring your hand onto the top of the block, and then take off, and your right leg up. Probably as high, only as high as your hip if you're able to raise it that high. Doesn't have to be higher. And then if you feel steady in your balance, right arm up. Good. And where do you feel your breath? This is a kind of, it's half moon pose. Imagine the moon flying through the sky, and then that is a very opening kind of image. The arms, the legs. And then right hand, right hip. Look for the floor with the left foot. Slide it back a little bit. Come into triangle pose, right arm up. And we're going to do that all over again because it was such a lovely pose. And inhale and come up. And back to the first side. If you've been using the wall behind you, then you might move away from the wall this time and explore best balancing, free balancing. But let's still work through Trikonasana. And not in a hurry. Why hurry? There'll just be another pose after this. And ready to move. And it's important in the beginning. You can see the floor, makes you feel safe. And then moving into Ardha Chandrasana. So just at the moment and having the wall behind you, I'm resting my right buttock on the wall. So I'm going to switch that glute muscle on and bring it away from the wall, just so I can lift up a little bit more. Those buttock muscles help you with your lower spine. And then releasing back to Trikonasana in your own time. And then almost reluctantly coming into last side, Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Take the choreographed steps through triangle, and then taking off. And that last adjustment, self-adjustment, if you can, drawing the lower buttock in and with the breath, and always with the breath, coming down. Trikonasana once more. And inhale and come up. And feet face forward, and then stepping in. Good work. And then shake a leg. All right. And then from here, take a lying down position, this time belly down. And we have an opportunity here to do a couple of small back bends. So once you're face down, fold your arms, rest your head onto your hands. If you like, and after using your glutes, your buttock muscles, just give a bit of a shake, a wobble to your buttocks. And from your resting position, tuck your toes under. When they're coiled under like that, lift your knees away from the floor and switch on your thigh muscles so the backs of your thighs are engaged, and you're drawing your buttocks down as well. And get that sensation through your legs, that your legs are helping you stay completely grounded. And then see if you can have the same sensation or something close to it. Point your toes away from you. Your legs are slightly apart. Press the tops of your toes, your toenails really, more on the inside of your feet. And then lift your knees again. And find your way to switch on your hamstrings at the backs of your thighs and your glutes. Don't lose that. And then come up onto your elbows. Once you're on your elbows, pull your elbows back towards your waist. My hands came back just a little bit, but it's not really designed to draw my hands back. It's more to project my chest forward. So feel your legs working for you. Balance your weight onto your pubic bone. And in Sphinx pose here, draw your top chest up towards your neck. And we're working with Udana Vayu here, where you can feel the energy of the breath right up into the top lungs, the base of your throat, the front of your neck, even towards your head. And then come on down and fold your arms and rest your head onto your hands. Shalabhasana locust pose. First, set up your legs, tops of your feet, knees tighten, quadriceps tighten, or I should say hamstrings tighten. And then bring your arms back alongside your legs. Just rest on your forehead. And without lifting your right hip, lift your right leg. Feel the inside of your right foot lifting up a little bit more than the little toe side. Rest that leg. Swap over. The front of your left hip is going to stay in contact with the floor as you raise your left leg. And you can balance the lift a little bit more by pressing your right leg too. And rest. And then just leave your legs for the moment. Let the effort go out of them. Once more, press the pubic bone down. Maybe you can lift the navel up. Feel that lower part of your torso as an energy center. And holding that firm, then lift your head a little bit. Work your legs once more. And lift up just enough. Maybe you can look along the floor in front of you or out towards the horizon. Bring your shoulders back. And finally, lift your arms up. When your arms come up, tighten around your armpits and feel your shoulders pull down and your upper back muscles engage. And then returning to the floor and resting for a moment. Let go of the effort that you put in there. And let's make this our last go to complete to the more classic pose. And then the legs support you, the knees lift, the hamstrings engage, and beginning to lift up, not just from your upper body now and your arms, but your legs too. As you lift your legs, my legs are slightly apart. Lift the inner part of your leg, the inner arches of your feet, the inner knees, the inner thighs. And then finally lowering down and folding your arms. Rest your head onto your hands. Roll a little bit side to side on your hip bones and shake out the buttocks. And moving on, come on to all fours position. When you're on your knees and your hands like this, mentally preparing for a slight inversion, which is the preparation for headstand. So come down onto your elbows and interlock your hands. From my kneeling position, my knees pretty much still underneath my hips, interlocking the hands, bring your hands all the way together so your wrists are together. Then nuzzle your your little fingers into the mat, and step your elbows in a little bit closer. If you're on a yoga mat like this, they tend to slip out. You want to keep them close in. And then bring weight to bear onto the entire forearm from your elbow to your wrist, and feel what strong pressure you can create if you imagine you're going to leave an imprint on your mat, an impression through your forearm bones. And then we're going to move on from here. So instead of just supporting getting the strength going in the arms, we're going to work on flexibility too. So as you lift your knees up, you're going to lift your buttocks up and come into dog pose legs. Actually, keep your knees bent. So let's take the hamstrings out of the equation and just work the pressure down through the forearms and lift up. And here's where the flexibility comes in, lifting your shoulders away from the floor. And then back to ground. Notice if your knuckles are white, and that's not helpful. So you can keep your fingers a little bit more relaxed, but change the interlock of your hands. And then go through the steps, and your weight is borne by your forearms, your wrists, and then knees lift up a little bit, buttocks lift up. If your head is still very close to the ground, think about lifting up through the inside of your shoulder blades. To the extent that you can lift up there, the head will come up a little bit more. Good, you've done good strengthening work there, and dropping your knees and coming to rest. This may be just our first child's pose of today's class. So bring your hands back towards your feet. And allow yourself to curl up into a turtle shape. If that isn't allowed for some reason by your knees or your hip stretch, then it's fine to have your buttocks off your heels, and you can still rest your head. Let's change the hands for child's pose and bring your arms forward and stack your hands one on top of the other in soft fists. And pull your elbows in close to your knees and rest your head onto your hands, your folded hands. And feel yourself breathe with the ease of breathing in all the parts. So right down to the bottom torso, between the navel and the pubis, and into the cylinder of the torso, breathing into all sides, back and front and sides. And into the center chest, the heart center, the throat. And we're going to move into the low shoulder stand inversion. So very simple inversion. And you could take your cushion, your bolster is the best. So it runs long ways away from the wall. And when you lie on it for support, so you're lying face up. The inversion is created by having your legs supported. It's basically just your heels supported on the wall. So I've got a little too much distance between my body and the wall. I want more of a 60-degree angle of my legs. So I'm going to go through this all again with my bolster a little closer to the wall so I can bring my legs up higher. So take the time that you need to get support onto your bolster. And your legs approximating that 60 degrees. And then where your back is supported, you need to have support for your lower back. So I have my bottom buttocks, my sacrum, and even my back waist lifted up onto the bolster. And then the front of my chest is just flowering open. Arms like Shavasana, a little distance away from the side of the body, but enough distance so that the sides of your lungs can be touched by the breath. And have a few goes if you need to and you don't feel like you're just settled completely for some reason. And if this is not available, this pose for you today, your body feels limited in some way, uncomfortable, then do just legs up the wall, and you can do that without a cushion. Take time now. Perhaps you've closed your eyes to feel the breath as it circulates through your body, which is possibly, likely, a different experience when you're slightly inverted than when you're standing or sitting, or even lying straight. So there's an energetic movement which is augmented by the breath from your feet to your hips, and your hips to your throat and your head. And see if you can tune in to subtle differences that are made because you're inverted. And maybe that you feel more energy around the top chest, the heart center, the base of your throat. Relax the throat, the lining of the throat, and the jaw slightly slackened. Your lips, the interior mouth, the walls of your mouth. And let's stay another minute or two. Notice if there's residual tension anywhere in your body. In particular, you might consider the diaphragm. The diaphragm is something that separates one part from another. So feel as the diaphragm relaxes with your exhaling breaths, that the chest and the abdomen are more connected. There's a general softening into the body. Now we have time to stage an exit from this pose and treat our body in the kindliest fashion. So first of all, just bend your knees a little bit and bring your feet down onto the top of your bolster. Feel the legs relax, the groins relax. And then step your feet off the bolster to the sides of the bolster. And instead of rolling to the side, scoot back away from the bolster and the wall until your torso is lying flat with your legs bent. If your feet are stepped out like that, let your knees drop into center and rest the knees one against the other. Then lift one knee towards your chest, second knee towards your chest. Like you did in the beginning, clasp your hands onto your knees, maybe interlock your hands, and then just rest your hands there. Rest your thighs towards your torso. Relax your feet. Relax your elbows. And then just before we shift to sit up, you might try reaching to your heels. Can you extend your arms on the outside of your legs and your hips and reach your heels? This is a little bit like an upside down child's pose. And then releasing your hands, roll to the side, come on up to a seated position. I have a folded blanket to sit on, a 3-fold blanket. I'm just going to pop my hips up onto that blanket. You might sit on your bolster or something. Okay, so it's fine if your preferred position for sitting is kneeling and hero pose or virasana. Cross-legged is fine too. I'm sitting with my legs not crossed, but one heel in front of the other foot. That's my preferred position. I think it's called Siddhasana. And then reaching the buttocks out, spreading the buttocks a little bit. And then bring your hands in front of you, bring your weight onto your fingertips, and do a little lean forward. Feel that you can move your buttock bones back when you come forward like that. And then merely release your hands to rest onto your knees. Bring your elbows back slightly in line with your sides of your waist and completely relax your shoulders. Relax your belly muscles. Feel that integration once again, the ribs with the diaphragm, with the abdomen, in a softening kind of belly. Then turn a little bit to your right side. First turn your head, turn your upper part of your chest, and then leaving your right hand onto your right knee, bring your left hand on top. Left hand resting onto your right hand. And now, just in that simple movement, you've done a little bit more rotation. We're going to finish with this breathing exercise. Drop your chin towards your chest, really towards the right side of your chest. And then start to lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Open that up in a big, graceful gesture and opening out to the left side. And keep following with your line of vision your right thumb. And then come back in. And did I say your right thumb? I meant your left thumb. And then bring your chin down again and you're back to where you started. So let's do a few like that. So emphasizing the gentlest kind of rotation through your spine. But also taking your energy out right to the tips of your fingers, your left fingertips, in a generous gesture. Keep the opposite shoulder relaxed. Let's make this the last opening, that arm out to the side. And then pause with the left hand on top of the right hand, chin down, relax your shoulders. And then change your hands. And second side. Right hand rests on the left hand. Just pause there. So you've done a partial rotation. Drop your chin towards your chest. So just a really gentle stretch to the side of your neck too. And let's begin. In-breath is extended. And then feel like you're still able to lift and open your chest even when you exhale. You're not losing that sense of generous opening. So sending your energy out to the tips of your fingers, sending your energy out to the pores of your skin, just opening. And then let's go to finish, one hand on top of the other. Drop your chin again and drop your shoulders. And then come back, two hands onto your each knee again. If you've lost some of your length through your spine, do that slight lean forward again. Lengthen out from the tailbone to the base of your skull. And then bringing your torso back with that easy uprightness. And we'll finish where we started and drawing all the energy of Prana, Vayu into the expression through the hands of prayer pose. The elbows want to lift up a little bit so the top corners of your lungs feel open. It's easy to breathe into your chest. And then incline your head towards your chest and then give that little extra lift to your chest towards your chin. Feel the circulation of your breath through all parts of your body, the breath that energizes and animates us through every moment of our day. And the energy that we fund and we gather from doing practice, and especially doing it together, let's send our goodwill, our kindness, our good energy out into the universe. Namaste. Thank you.